acquire 100% of the generic businesses in US for $550 million. So that's the amount they'll pay. The story that Archana had put out was that Cipla is likely to acquire the US business of hetero drugs. So let's see the generic, 100% of generic businesses in the US, but which company? I haven't seen that flash yet. But, well, they will be paying about $550 million for this particular deal. So that's the mega acquisition that we were talking about at this point in time. Anything more that you're picking up?
No, I mean, I'm still not able to get the exchange press release on this. It's still coming in the form of updates only. We have to wait for... it says NSE Wire, so it's been filed to the NSE.
There is some more details coming in. In two US-based companies, InvaGen Pharmaceuticals and Exelan Pharmaceuticals, Cipla will acquire 100% stake in two of these companies. InvaGen Pharmaceuticals, if we can start flashing the details.
That is $500 million.
Yes, $500 million is the amount they'll pay for InvaGen, and $50 million is the amount they'll pay for Exelan. InvaGen is engaged in the business of development, manufacturing, marketing and distribution of generic pharmaceuticals and focuses on therapeutic areas including cardiovascular, anti-infective, etc. And Exelan is also in generic pharma, and the turnover of Exelan in the financial year 2012, 13 and 14 was $2 million, $14 million and $28 million. So
InvaGen is the bigger
one.
Yes.
InvaGen
sales is as high as $130 million, $135 million and $190 million for the last 3 years up till December 2014. So InvaGen is clearly the bigger one, for which they're paying $500 million, and for Exelan, which is the smaller one, they're paying $50 million. That also confirmed by the press release from Cipla to the stock exchanges. Surjit Pal, the pharma analyst at Prabhudas Lilladher, has just joined us. What would you do with the stock with this news, Surajit?
I think these are the news pretty positive for the company, in a sense that the major products, which is their organic products like respiratory or oncology injectables for US or Europe, I think those things will be taking time, say 2016 end or 2017-18. So till that time, I think company needs some booster, particularly in those key markets, which is really absent. So I think the main purpose of acquiring this generic product or bidding for generic product for the company who may not have that kind of interest in the company could be their recent strategy. So that they have been doing. So I think this is positive. This will be EPS accretive. This will increase the company's presence in those markets, which was totally absent vis-a-vis the peers.
So and what is the presence exactly? When you say totally absent, you mean Cipla is not present in the US at all currently?
In a sense that they are there. They are mainly previously through their partners. But currently, their revenue is roughly around 140 million, I mean, in FY15. And it could go up to, by, say, another 100 to $130 million with a supply of Nexium and Respule to the partners again. So I think this kind of own product plus buying out their own products to the partners, which they used to out-license, I think that overall will give them quite a boost. I think their target could be, in short to medium term, could reach to the level of $500 million of their own sales. Okay.
What's your price target now for Cipla? Will you raise it after this?
We are currently 780. Let the news comes and let me analyze and then. But definitely these are positive and EPS accretive.
All right. And that is on the exchange, Surajit. So you should be able to get your lowdown on this acquisition.
Just one more question. Based on these two acquisitions, what do you think the earnings potential could be? You said $500 million of sales, but that would be for what? For the US business for next year or overall for Cipla?
No, I'm not putting any time. What my asking is that, you know, in short to medium term, they might be asking or they might be targeting $500 million kind of sales in US.
In the US, okay. Yeah. And overall, how much could their earnings grow, you think, by FY16?
See, typically this company has, 350 crore of top line. Bottom line. This quarter they have done something extraordinary, 650 because of Nexium. So if I remove 350 crore additional, so on that basis, this company could give you roughly around 24, 25, so another 4-5 rupees. So that could boosting to the level of 30.
It looks like they're going to pay for it through debt. doesn't matter?
No, they have quite a big headroom. They hardly have any debt.
Okay. All right, so that's the story on Cipla. Surajit, thank you very much for joining us. Already his target price is higher at 780. This is EPS accretive, so chances are that we're going to get a slightly leg up in Cipla shares. It's already in the pre-market bids rising. Devin, you want to speak about this deal?
Yeah, what is more interesting, Lata, is that they are paying the price, I think, 3 times the turnover that the company is making. And something which I am very comfortable about, I think, when generally, I think you end up with a measured ratio of paying the valuations, I think you remain definitely, I think, positive on such companies and acquisition. More importantly, on one side you have the manufacturing, you also have the product portfolio, and then at the same time, I think you are getting the distribution part in the US market. So all in all put together, it's a good combination that you get, I think, through such acquisition. And Cipla, for one, I think, has been trying seriously for getting their inroads into US market. And through this acquisition, I think they're getting one. So certainly, I think, remaining positive on this aspect. Look at the kind of preparation that the company has made in the back end. I think the kind of formulation facilities, the generic manufacturing facility that they have already built in, probably I think that would plug in very fast, I think, with this kind of front-end acquisition that they have done. So certainly, I think, remaining positive on the company.
Oh yes, and this was one stock that delivered very strong numbers in the quarter gone by. I mean, the income had gone up by 42% because of Nexium, as the analyst was also pointing out. And now they have 2 new companies in the US space to add on to their revenue portfolio. But for someone who's missed out on the opportunity to buy into the stock, Devin, do you suggest a fresh buy at these 670 rupee levels?
Yes, certainly. I think no hesitation in putting that buy recommendation across. Of course, I think the viewpoint would be, I think, for 2 years and above. I think those who want to create a portfolio for 2 years and above, I think certainly is a good choice to add into the portfolio.
All right.
Online from Mumbai to talk about that. Shubhanu, good morning. Congratulations on the acquisitions. But just tell us, how do you plan to pay for them?
Good morning. Yes, we're very excited with the transaction. This will be an all-cash transaction, and it will be subject to certain regulatory approvals, and we hope to complete all the formalities over the next few months.
Would you have to raise debt at all?
We will look to finance the bulk of this through internal accruals.
Okay. What does this do to your sales and your EPS in the current year itself, or in the first full year of acquisition?
So we see this as being earnings accretive from the moment the transaction closes. As you know, the US is a very important market for our industry. Currently, Cipla's presence is around 8% of our revenues. This will help give us a strong platform to accelerate our growth ambitions in the US.
Okay. Are you bringing any debt with the company, or is this entire $140 million sales coming in?
Yes, we're going through the final details as we speak, but we have a good cash balance and good cash generation. So we're looking to maximize the use of internal accruals for this deal.
No. What I meant is are these 2 companies, Exelan and InvaGen, bringing any debt with them?
No, we're buying the assets quickly, and then we are also building our plans as to how we can now, together with the full force of Cipla's expertise and technology, make it an important growth driver for the company going forward, and we look forward to welcoming the associates of the 2 companies into the Cipla family.
What exactly is the cash on books now for the company?
Yeah, I won't give you the details. You can see in the annual report how much cash we have on the balance sheet. It's fairly significant, and we have healthy cash generation in the business.
Exactly.
Mr. Saxena, I just wanted to find out, are you going to be acquiring any more companies in the US? We do understand that you were looking for, you were bidding for UCB's portfolio, and that was worth around a $1 billion bid. Would that be off the cards now?
Well, as you know, we don't give specific comments on various discussions or rumors or speculation in the market. What I can assure you that Cipla looks at opportunities and assesses first whether we are the better owner of a business. Is there a good fit with our strategy? And can we bring significant value? And only when we meet those stringent criteria do we proceed with such an acquisition. So these things are very selective. Cipla is fortunate that 70% plus of our growth will be through organic means over the coming years, and we're very excited by our growth story for the next 5 years and beyond.
Okay, just a quick question on the margins. Can you just tell us what the margins for these two specific businesses stand at in the US specifically, and on a blended basis, what would your margins possibly come down to or be once these acquisitions close?
Yes, we don't give specific breakout of margins or specific guidance, but as I said earlier, this will be margin accretive from the moment the deal closes.
So you would retain above 25% margins, is that a fair assumption?
I'll let the analysts do their speculation, but you'll see the results over the coming couple of years, and we're very confident we can drive both top-line growth and also margin improvement.
Can you just give us a sense of, how much the U.S. potential for Cipla could be, say, in the next 1 to 2 years? How much could just the U.S. business grow for you?
Well, what I've said publicly, that if you look at Cipla's strategy and you look at two parts, India and outside of India, we look to double our Indian business by reaching every Indian with high-quality, affordable medicines over the next 3 to 5 years. India is around 45% of our business today. We'll double it, and it'll be around 30% of our future. We'll have quite a balanced portfolio, and we expect the U.S. to become 20% or so of Cipla's business over the coming years. This deal probably allows us to accelerate that trajectory a little bit, but Cipla will have a very balanced geographic distribution of our businesses and allow us to serve patients in many markets around the world.
What are your plans for InvaGen itself, Shubhanu? Are you looking at increasing their sales with the same pace that you're expecting to increase Cipla's revenues?
Well, now they become part of the Cipla family. We're going to look how we obviously maximize the growth opportunities with the business, and we will not engage with the company until formal transaction closing, but we have a number of very exciting ideas that we're looking forward to implement.
Typically, how long does that take, all those antitrust permissions?
Well, it can vary. It can take weeks, it can take a few months, but typically we think 2 to 3 months. But we'll let it take its natural course and update the market accordingly once the transaction is ready for closing.
Okay. Would your current year's guidance include inorganic anything inorganic? Would your guidance include this at all for FY16?
No, it wouldn't have done. It really depends on when the transaction closes, how much impact will happen this financial year or next. It's hard to judge. We'll let it follow its natural course through all the various regulatory formalities.
Would you be done with your acquisition spree, at least in the interim period? Can we safely assume that at least for FY16?
I think you can safely assume that I won't comment on whether we are or not done on acquisitions. As I said before, we're fortunate that we can drive over 70% of our growth through organic means, and we will always look for the right opportunity to help Cipla fulfill its mission of affordable access for all in every market we operate.
Since you did mention that, there's quite a bit of growth potential in the U.S. markets, are there any other geographies where you see lucrative opportunities in the next, say, couple of years?
Absolutely. So if we look at India, we're just scratching the surface as to what a Cipla can do. Simple example I'll give is the field of respiratory disease, where only 30% of patients on inhaled therapies today. That should be 60 or 70%. If you look at the reach of medicines of companies in India, again, there's a lot more growth. So we see strong growth within the Indian market. Cipla has a formidable reputation in many emerging markets. Africa today is 25% of Cipla's business. If we look at the US and Europe, Cipla's really not been present. Europe is only 6% of our future, of our current sales. So I think Cipla showing up with our portfolio, either directly with front ends or through strategic partnerships, gives us a lot of runway. I'm fortunate that I have to prioritize all the growth opportunities in front of us so we can focus on a few to execute.
Shubhanu, Mr. Hamid at the AGM last week said that it's 20% revenue growth that y'all are looking at. He would not have factored this in, had he? Should we expect even higher than 20% revenue growth?
I just wanted to repeat what I said earlier. The guidance was without any inorganic acquisition, but equally the timing of closing makes it hard to say how much will fall into this financial year or next year.
But it could be better than 20% next year in that case.
So I'm just sticking to the guidance that we financial year, and we'll come back once we know when the transactions close as to what the outlook will be for next year and beyond.
Okay. Mr. Saxena, since we have you with us, I'm just going to quiz you on something which is not the acquisition bit. There have been a lot of concerns from the analyst or brokerage community on the fringe about a lot of churn which is taking place in terms of the management level at Cipla. Can you comment on that? Have things settled in terms of the new appointees? And secondly, is this a new strategy that Cipla is adopting, being more aggressive?
So again, I get slightly amused when I see the various rumors and speculation in the market about people and how people take selective stories. Cipla has built a formidable leadership team. In 25,000 people strong organization, you see always some constant dynamic evolution. We continuously look to bring in great talents. We're a net hire of talent into the company. I think what we see is a super opportunity now to develop our own talent from within the company as Cipla grows. So the example of acquisition business is just growing at leaps and bounds. So Cipla is a company that seriously looks to invest in its talent capabilities, and we're very fortunate in having one of the best leadership teams in the industry.
Okay, just one question from my end. You know, if you can give us some details or some indication of how much InvaGen could grow, say in the next couple of years, because the growth has been really steady from $130 million in 2012 to close to $200 million in 2014. What kind of growth rate can we assume?
Well, I think you should go.
Okay, there's some. Well, Shubhanu, yeah. I don't think we can hear you very well. There's a bit of a scratchy line, but I think we've got all the details that we needed. Thank you for joining us and speaking with us. That's the word coming in from Shubhanu Saxena. Looks good.
Oh, yes, Ekta, anything more you had to add?
Well, you know, I've been working.
We haven't got the guidance for what this will bring to the table, but it does look like he has admitted it's EPS accretive from the word go.
Yes, and I've been working the phones in terms of what the analysts have been talking about, and this is something which has been on the cards for Cipla. Yes, they are going to enter the US markets. They are going to get more aggressive. I just had one question for Mr. Saxena, that there are a lot of Indian companies which are getting aggressive in the US. Why the US in particular, and what's the US FDA assets that they might have or plans which might be approved for them, and isn't that at the margin maybe a risk for a company to get more aggressive in the US in the current scenario?
Can you work the phone again? We'll try.
So any which way, overall the feedback that I've got, and since I've been looking at the company also for so long, is that it is going to be marginally accretive for them. They are getting more aggressive with this acquisition in terms of increasing their presence in the US, and overall they have enough of flexibility on the balance sheet to accommodate this acquisition.
Deven, Deven is still with us. Deven, you wanted to add anything after listening to Shubhanu Saxena?
I think by and large, I think it is confirming the viewpoint which I was making, that the the formulation business, I think the capacity that they have built in the Indian market, in the plants, I think that they have developed in last few years, and the amount of capex that they are carrying out, it gives me a lot of conviction that I think they would probably be in a much better position going forward to double the size of the company in relatively faster period of time. So certainly organic, inorganic growth, I think combination, as has been talked about, I think is definitely sounding more promising than before. Suddenly you find, I think, a lot of life in Cipla, I think, after so many years. So that is a good sign to note about.
That's true, but we need to drag our attention back to the markets, because now the markets are selling off quite